Hey guys, this is Yugioh here, coming at you with a new discussion video, and today we're going to be discussing Yu-Gi-Oh! And my history with it, and yeah, this is really going to be a video that's going to be coming from the heart from me. So before we get started, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and hit that bell button. And let's get started. Now, before we get started, I want to say a little something here. There are Easter eggs. There was actually a Easter egg in my Sonic Frontiers video. If you go down into the description, you'll see something that's out of place. And there might be something that might be said in this video, or there might be something in the description. So I'm not going to tell you guys. You guys are going to have to point it out. So anyways, much like a lot of people, I got into Yu-Gi-Oh! Very early on. I think it was actually during the Duelist Kingdom arc. And I can't remember if I got into it because of my best friend at the time, or if I got into it myself. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I remember going to our local CVS and picking up the OG Kaiba starter deck. Because, at the time, and I'm still like this. I love dragons. I love dinosaurs. So Blue Eyes has always been one of my favorite monsters. And because of that, Kaiba has always been one of my favorite characters. Even though that he's not even though that he's not the favorite character for me anymore. That has actually been replaced by Atem and Yugimoto. Kaiba is still in my top 5 favorite, Yu-Gi-Oh! Characters. At least when it comes to, when I do, my top 5 favorite male duelists and all that. Or male OG Yu-Gi-Oh! Characters. And even though I had that deck, I never actually played the card game until my best friend first made me my first deck. Now, this first deck, granted, it was bad. It was bad then, it was bad now. There was a lot of common cards in there, but it got my feet wet. And and during those times, before I actually learned how to play the game, we actually went with the Battle City rules. Which I don't really do that anymore. I normally stick to the actual rules that Konami gives, because that's more authentic. And plus too, back then, we would use the God cards. The ones that literally say at the bottom that you cannot use these cards in a duel. But funny enough, I did that even still when I got my own. But keep in mind, I wasn't dueling to win tournaments. I was dueling to have fun. And even though that, I still duel to have fun, I still like to keep the cards, legal to use. So if I use the God cards nowadays, I'm most likely going to be using the versions that you can actually put into a deck. So yeah, that's how we used to duel. We went with the show rules, even though that there was a booklet with the rules in there. It's very much like with video game manuals. Who reads the freaking rule book? I'm sure some people did. The people that actually wanted to take Yu-Gi-Oh seriously and all that. But we didn't. I mean, during that time, our town didn't really have tournaments. If they did, it was most likely small ones, held at Walmart, which I did actually attend a tournament at Walmart in my town, and I will get to that. And what's even more crazier too was that, I watched Yu-Gi-Oh all the time. Like, I remember one of my most favorite memories as a kid was at the end of the day, right before bedtime. 3 shows came on back to back. It was Mobile Fighter G Gundam, Yu-Gi-Oh, then Pokemon. And I watched that all the time because at the time we had a small TV in the kitchen, I would always sit in there and play my games and and watch stuff, you know. And I would always have a bowl of ice cream with Hershey's chocolate sauce on there, and it was a great way to end the night. But then what happened was when I got burnt out of Pokemon, that was when Yu-Gi-Oh took over for a long time. I became, I started collecting the cards. I started really getting a little bit serious with the card game itself. I remember when the dual disc came out and I got one, and those. Why do they put that wrist, that arm sleeve in there? Because it made wearing the dual disc so uncomfortable. So then, what we found out was you could actually remove that thing and just wear it as is. I mean, that's how they did it in the frickin' anime. And it worked pretty well for how we used it. Although I wish they put the magic and spells, the spells and trap slots to where they actually have them in the actual show, but it's whatever. It got the job done. That was fun. I remember dueling my best friend with our dual discs, and then when GX came out, believe it or not, I wasn't a fan of GX originally. I was so used to the OG characters, but over the years and with me watching GX more and more, it really grew on me. And I really do like GX. It's a very different show from Duel Monsters for sure. And just like how 5Ds is different from GX. All the Yu-Gi-Oh shows are different. And I think that's a good thing. But at the same time, though, too, right? When you have a show that's, like when you think of Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Kazuki Takahashi's baby is the frickin' OG Yu-Gi-Oh series with, Yugimoto, Pharaoh Tem, Jinochi Katsua, and over here, his name was, Joey Wheeler, Honda, Tristan, Anzu, Taya, it was, and even to this day, I still prefer those cast of characters, and even though that I like Jaden Yuki, and I like Yusei Fudo, my big issue with GX and 5Ds, and I say this all the time, is that I feel like those two series got too much away from the Egyptian roots. Because keep in mind, GX and 5Ds take place in the same continuity as Duel Monsters and Season 0. So therefore, you would think they would focus on that, just a little bit. And they did in NGX a little bit. In 5Ds, no. And I think that has always been my problem with, the spin off series. But, that's the point. They are meant to be different. But still, at the same time, the roots of Duel Monsters is the fact that it started out as in freaking Egypt. That's the roots of Duel Monsters, right? And, and then, of course, when we moved from the house I grew up into, I can't remember what age it was, my brother's to my brother's house, temporarily, of course. Um, I actually entered my first tournament. It was actually around the time that Pyramid of Light came out in theaters, and I saw it in theaters. And I remember I got Sorcerers of Dark Magic. My sister got Wadapon, and that same weekend we went to Kmart, and I was going to get a pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And he told me, well, you can get this or you can have mine. And I took my dad's, and inside there was the Blue Eye Shining Dragon. Now, fortunately, that Blue Eye Shining Dragon isn't in the best condition. However, I keep it in my binder, and that is a very important card to me because of the fact that it was from the pack that they gave my dad. And when I entered the tournament, around that time, I had this monster of a deck. I broke the 60 card rule. Oh my god, it was a monster of a deck. I got my butt kicked, and I got my butt kicked hard. If I had the decks I do now, and I entered that tournament, I probably would have been able to at least make it to at least the finals. For sure. And then one other memory I really like was when my best friend's mom got us all the Blue Eyes Ultimate blister packs. That came with Blue Eyes Ultimate, I think 3 or 2 packs. I can't remember how many packs they were. And that was awesome. Even to this day, I love Blue Eyes Ultimate. I don't care if he's meta or not. And I'm talking about the OG Blue Eyes Ultimate. Although Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate is also pretty freaking cool as well. And when we moved to our current house, that's when my collection really grew. And the one thing that really helped was my neighbor at the time had Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I remember too, right? If he said that, and he just gave me his cards. He just gave me them. And it had stuff I never expected to have. Like it had multiple copies of Dark Magician Girl, Dark Paladin, which I need to get a new one of because of water damage. It had all these great cards in it, and I was like, wow. And even though that, the same guy, I've heard some very bad things about. And I do, and I definitely understood why there are some people that didn't like him. That kind of goes to show you that just because someone does something bad doesn't mean that they're bad people. That was a act of kindness. He didn't need to do that, but he did. And I remember when I got, super obsessed with getting the XYZ monsters because I was a big fan of those subset of monsters. which I wish that they would start getting more support for them. Um, and I remember all the time I would always try to see if like season 4 if GX was gonna come here, and finally they're like nope, and then finally because of some friends, and plus I did my own research on this as well before I joined Discord. It was because season 4 was dark. It was extremely dark, and for kids, didn't want to touch that dark stuff. That's why with 5Ds, it was heavily butchered. Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters wasn't all that butchered that much, but they definitely did cut out some important stuff from, with me and Mizuki watching the subbed on Crunchyroll right now. And I remember getting the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX um, Legendary Collection set, and that was such a fun set to open up, and especially the binder that came with the quote unquote the GX quote unquote GX guy cards. And I remember when I first picked up the first volume of the Yu-Gi-Oh manga, and I remember I was kind of shocked, like, wait, this is Yu-Gi-Oh? Because as it turns out, Yu-Gi-Oh started out as just this freaking horror story that dealt with Kazuki Takahashi's love for games, and then once the whole Duel Monsters part of it kind of became super popular, then he started focusing more on that. From my understanding, I could be wrong. So, and that kind of tells, and once I found about season 0, because after that I looked up season 0, the thing is, season 0 is canon to Duel Monsters, because it adapts the pre-Duel Monsters part of the manga. While with Duel Monsters, it kind of starts with like this altered version of I think it's Def T, I believe. I can't remember. I know that it was one of the times that when Seto and Yugi dueled one another. Well, Seto and Atem dueled one another. It was one of the first times. Um, and you know, it's God. I remember when, like, I have so many good memories of Yu-Gi-Oh, you guys. And you know what? Yu-Gi-Oh is still a part of my life, even to this day. I have so many fond memories that I could probably do just a full-blown podcast episode of just talking about this. I really do love Yu-Gi-Oh, and I love dueling, and I love the anime, and I want to collect all the manga. I want to read the manga, because for me, as much as I love the dub of Yu-Gi-Oh, and the dub of GX, and the dub of 5Ds, even though as much as I do like those voice actors, the reason why I chose to watch the sub now is because, and I don't mean this, if people just prefer the sub and just, if people just watch the dub and prefer the dub, that's totally okay. I'm not a sub elitist. I'm not going to tell you that, I'm not going to tell you what a lot of sub elitists say. However, if you want a true picture of the story, the sub version has more context. Which is why I think what 4K Media should do, and if for some reason you guys are watching this, you guys need to do a redub of the first 3 series of Yu-Gi-Oh! Same voice actors, just with more accurate scripts to the Japanese version. Heck, you guys can even do it with the uncut Yu-Gi-Oh way, and just have, just combine some characters' names with their English, just combine their English and Japanese names into one. That's what they did with the Funimation slash 4K 4Kids Uncut dub of it. And so I just want to end this by saying, Kazuki Takahashi, thank you so much for bringing my childhood joy. Your series is still having a impact on my life even to this day. I hope you rest well, and may you rest in peace. With that said, like I said, there might be a Easter egg down below in the description. I don't know yet. This video might not have one. So, with that said, I'll be seeing you all in the next video. Later, guys.